John, to another edition of the Dropping the Hammer Racing Hour. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, as always. Alex Gray along here with our, I guess I could say, our live correspondent down in Daytona Beach, Michael Klein, as we are both, I think we're recovered from the Super Bowl. Unfortunately, the Bengals came up very short, but it's now time for NASCAR's rendition of the Super Bowl.
Hell yeah. Daytona week, baby.
Absolutely. Obviously, you're down there. How have things been for you so far?
So far, they have been really good. It's been a great week so far, hanging out at Volusia and New Smyrna. And tomorrow, obviously, everything starts at Daytona, so that's going to be really fun. Just watched qualifying at home tonight. Or not at home, at cousin's house. Spent the day on the beach earlier.
Yeah, the weird thing is I've never been to Florida, and I originally had intended on going down there with you, but unfortunately some other things came up and I wasn't able to go. But I do want to make the trip down there at some point for sure. So speaking of New Smyrna, the ARCA East Series took place last night. Mr. Sammy Smith, I'm sure he's going to be a guy that is talked about a lot in ARCA this year. He ended up picking up the W there.
Yeah, it was a pretty exciting race, especially when Taylor Gray was able to get ahead. Obviously I think Sammy probably had the better car all night. And, if Taylor Gray was able to get a jump on the restart, he'd be able to hold Sammy off for a bit, and then Sammy would use the chrome horn to get by him, and at that point he would just be gone.
Mm-hmm. Obviously it's good to see ARCA back up and running, of course. I know the ARCA Menard Series will be racing this weekend at Daytona as well. Before we continue, however, I want to talk about your whole thing with Rhinoco. Do you want to talk about that?
Yep. So we are entered in the Rhinoco support tour. So basically what it is everyone has one vote daily to vote for a driver of their choice there. You have me on there too. So each week there's opportunity to win $1,000 through that. And they also give away $1,000 to another driver who Rhino picks. And they've also just announced that every winner is to receive a $1,000 gift card to the Radford Racing School in Arizona. So basically you're going for $1,000 in sponsorship money and a shot to possibly help develop your skills a little bit more. So it's a really good deal they've got going on. So if you guys would like to help out with that, go register for free at Rhinoco and vote Michael Klein once daily. And hopefully help be a part of getting us back on track for this season.
Yep, absolutely. And by the way, when this episode does get uploaded onto my YouTube channel, Sonic Rules 831, I will leave a link to that as well as a link to Michael's Twitter down in the description below so that you can go on and vote. And you can vote every day, once every day, not just once and you're done. You can vote pretty much daily. So yeah, and also, of course, I actually helped make a video promoting that as well. That's also on Michael's Twitter as well. So, with that being said, lots of things have been happening on the West Coast, not just the Super Bowl, but also the clash that took place just this past Sunday. Not this past Sunday, but the Sunday before at the Los Angeles Coliseum. And Joey Logano ended up winning that race. And I'm going to say this right now. I thought the clash was a huge success. I thought it was a hit. To me, it was a great way to usher in a new era of NASCAR. I mean, the fact that, you were able to fit a quarter-mile short track inside the stadium, essentially. And then you had, these concerts from Pitbull and Ice Cube and, trying all these different things and making it exciting. There was, 50,000, 60,000 people there? There were a lot of fans there. To me, I thought it was a huge success. Michael, what do you think?
I thought it was too, especially seeing Ice Cube coming out for a halftime performance. That was like my childhood right there, just showing up. But yeah, overall, I thought it was a pretty successful show. That second LCQ was absolutely crazy. You had Ty Dillon basically hitting everything but the pace car, which honestly I think pretty much everyone was doing there. I mean, that was what you had to do. And it shocked me that it didn't seem like we had a lot of headbutting after the race, because I just kind of think maybe that was because everyone just kind of knew that that's what it was going to come to. And, of course, it's a non-points event. Just an exhibition race at the LA Coliseum, which I thought the track was really cool, too. I love these really short tracks. It was so cool to watch. It was definitely a great way to read in the new car and the new season.
Yeah, I mean, I was so starstruck watching it going, man, this is really happening. They're actually putting together this race inside the LA Coliseum. And, yeah, I thought things went really well. Obviously, there were a couple instances. I know Eric Almirola was kind of pointing at Todd Gilliland, and Ryan Blaney threw his Hans device, I think, at Eric Jones. But, yeah, besides that, there were a few wrecks. We got a real good first look at the next-gen car. I thought, as you said, it was really a great way to introduce it. But, yeah, overall, I think things went really well, and I could see NASCAR doing it again potentially next year as well. I already know people are discussing ideas like what other stadiums, could potentially host a race, which the biggest thing is, and I didn't realize this until recently, that the reason why it worked at the Coliseum so well was because the length of pretty much the field was longer than most stadiums anyway. So that's how they were able to fit that kind of track on there.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, but, you never know. Obviously, they're looking at trying all sorts of new things down the line and all the different schedule changes that we still have yet to see potentially in the coming years. Now, with that being said, you mentioned Daytona 500 qualifying. As of this recording, qualifying just wrapped up, and I'll try to get this episode out before the duels tomorrow night. But same old story, Hendrick Motorsports, fastest cars. It's been this way since 2015, I think, when Jeff Gordon got the pole in his final season. So Kyle Larson, picking up where he left off, he gets the pole for the Daytona 500. Alex Bowman qualifies second, and that is his fifth straight year, I think, of him getting on the front row, which I think now ties for the most among the rest of them, which are Hall of Famers. So
it actually broke the record.
Go ahead.
It actually broke the record. They said that on the broadcast.
Oh, it broke the record. Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and obviously that was a record held by a ton of Hall of Famers. So that says a lot about the standard that I think Alex Bowman has set. He's got a lot of speed. Those Hendrick cars definitely got a lot of speed. And those are the two cars that don't need to worry about their starting spot for the Daytona 500. And, of course, we got to talk about the go-or-go-homers, or the open cars, as they're said. The two fastest of that group that qualified their way in tonight, Noah Gragson in the 62 for Beard Motorsports, and 1997 Formula One World Champ Jacques Villeneuve will finally get to race in the Daytona 500. He attempted it one time before in 2008. I believe that was with Bill Davis Racing at the time. But Villeneuve, with this new team, Hesseberg, they're in the Daytona 500. So definitely a feel-good story. The 50-year-old finally getting the race in the Great American Race. And with all the accomplishments that he's had over the years, from IndyCar to Formula One and everything else, can he possibly check off the Daytona 500 on that list? We'll have to wait and see on Sunday. The rest of the open cars, they'll have to race their way in on Thursday. What are your thoughts on what you saw tonight?
I was honestly kind of surprised to see Kyle Larson take the number one spot. He's never really seemed to be super fast in qualifying. Obviously, we know with the Hendrick cars he'd be able to do that. But Daytona has always seemed to be one of his struggle tracks, along with Talladega. So being able to see him get the pole like that, maybe that's a good sign of things to come for him with the Super Speedway program.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you make a really good point. He's, especially last year, he's been known to kind of struggle on those kind of tracks. So definitely a great turnaround and pretty much picking up where he left off. William Byron, I think, got third. I believe fourth was Eric Almirola. He'll be running in his final Daytona 500. Chase Elliott got fifth. Some other notables that got into the top 10, Daniel Suarez of Trackhouse Racing. Harrison Burton. Harrison Burton showed some really good speed in that 21 Wood Brothers Ford.
Oh, yeah, that was definitely one of the big shockers there. And same with Hemrick, too, and Trackhouse getting both their cars in the final 10.
Yeah, absolutely. I was really impressed with those Trackhouse Chevrolets. I've been really intrigued to see what that team will do, considering that obviously they've expanded to 2 cars, adding in Ross Chastain and pretty much buying out what was left over of Chip Ganassi Racing. Very impressive, very impressed. So I'm intrigued to see how they're going to do in the duels tomorrow night as well. I think Bubba Wallace also did pretty solid in his qualifying. Speaking of Bubba, I don't know if you saw it during the Super Bowl, but when there was a McDonald's commercial, Bubba actually made a little cameo in that commercial.
I actually had missed. I was in the kitchen, and I just heard everyone saying, so I didn't know one of them was.
Yeah, they were like, "Come on, Bubba, let's go." He's like, because I love the joke about that commercial, because that's always the case. You know, you go to a McDonald's or something like that, you pull up, and it's just like, "Can I get every single time?" We've all done it. So with that being said, after seeing practice and qualifying and everything else, what are your thoughts so far on this new car and how it's been able to get around Daytona?
So far, I've been pretty impressed that everyone's been able to keep it going straight. You know, all I've heard is how hard it is to drive. So just the fact that everyone's able to do that, but obviously it's not a race setting. And I'm just curious to see what kind of racing we're going to see tomorrow. Because, you know, obviously with the supply shortages and everything, you don't want to tear your car up in a qualifying race. So it's going to be very interesting to see if people try to play it safe, and how are the open cars going to deal with that?
Yeah, exactly. There are a handful of teams that actually showed up with no backup. You know, there were some big teams actually brought, a couple backups in case they were needed for anybody, but still, I think Kevin Harvick was among one of those that didn't bring a backup because, again, everyone's kind of short on cars because of the supply chain shortages. Now, I don't think it's going to be, at least I hope not, I don't think it's going to be anything drastic where, oh my gosh, this team has to miss a couple races because they don't have any cars. I don't think that'll happen, but we'll see. I do think in the duels you will see, and I think the 500 may be the same way, where things are kind of laid back. But unfortunately, it is a new car, and everybody is still learning it, and they will continue to learn it throughout the season. So it's a tough situation for sure, but it's just one of those wait-and-see things. Think of tomorrow's dual races as the midterm for the next-gen car. Then you got your final exam, the first true impression on the Daytona 500, and we'll get to see what that car will be all about. In practice, there were some guys who really got up in there. I think Cody Ware ended up fourth quickest in final practice. Some of those smaller teams, I think they could make some noise with this car. And that was the idea behind it, right? With the next-gen car was being able to kind of tighten the competition.
Yeah, I mean, that was obviously with how many spec parts they have now, I think that was definitely one of the goals. So I think it showed that it has the potential to do that.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how that works out. And obviously, we got tons of racing up ahead. We got the duels. We got the Truck Series. We got the Xfinity Series. What are your plans for the weekend? Are you going to all the races? I know you'll be there for the 500.
Oh, yeah. I plan on being at every race from tomorrow to the 500.
All right. Excellent. Well, obviously, looking forward also on the next episode when you sit down and talk about your experiences there. And this is your third Daytona 500, right?
Yep. It'll be my third.
Nice. Okay. I have to look this up because this has been an issue the past couple of years. What does the weather look like for Sunday? Okay, we're good. There looks like to be no chance of precipitation for the rest of the weekend. That's good.
Well, they say that now, but it's Florida, so.
Yeah, right now it says Sunday a high of 73 and a low of 60. That's kind of cool for Daytona, feels like.
Man, the other night at Volusia, it was freezing cold.
I saw a few clips. It definitely looked like it was a cold one down there.
Oh, yeah.
Then again, the weather down there is still an improvement over the weather we've had here in Cincinnati lately.
Yeah, it definitely beats that.
Yeah, I mean, all the snow and ice are still melting off from the snowstorm like 2 weeks ago that we had.
Oh, boy.
But anyhow, what else in the news, or what else did you potentially want to discuss, if anything? Since really this was pretty much kind of a quicker episode, but I didn't know if you had anything else.
Honestly, I think that's about all I really need to talk about.
We already talked about our predictions of who we think's going to win. You can refer that back into our recent episode right before the Clash. Once again, I got my winners. I got Enfinger for truck. I'm trying to remember, Hemrick for Xfinity, and Bowman for the Daytona 500.
Yeah, I forget who I had.
Now, I know you had Jordan Anderson as one of your dark horses, because I think he's a big dark horse for sure.
Did you say Hemrick?
Yeah, Hemrick.
Right. Sorry, yeah, that sounds like something I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But besides that, once again, this is pretty much a quicker episode. I think that'll wrap things up from here. Yeah, that's about it pretty much. So thank you guys so much for tuning in as always. And we'll discuss Speed Week next. We'll talk about everything that occurred down in Daytona. And from Michael Klein and myself, Alex Gray, thank you guys so much for tuning in as always. And we'll see you next time. Hooday.
Hooday.